Hi, Westmore. This is Ashley, Container Storage Commander. How are you doing today? Can you hear me? Hey, Richard. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Looks like we'll start here in just about 3 to 4 minutes.
Okay, perfect.
Good afternoon, everyone. We'll start here in just a few minutes. Hi, Manny. How are you doing today?
Hi, Ashley. I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing very well.
Good, good.
We'll start the webinar here. We'll give people another minute or so, and then we can start. All right, so it's 3:01. So I thought we could first start off with a few introductions here. So thank you for joining us for our summer school series, Peace, Protection, Profit, Unlocking Risk Assurance for Self-Storage Success. I am Ashley Companion. You've probably seen a lot of emails from me in regards to that, and I'm very happy to be here and help everyone along in success. We do have several Storage Commander experts here. So if they'd like to introduce themselves, we'll start off with our main speaker, Richard Witka, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi everybody, and welcome, and thank you for joining us today. To have you. And our summer series is going to be great. So as Ashley said, look for more to come on that. But my role here is VP of Sales, overseeing the software as well as the insurance sales. Quick background on my end: I started my self-storage adventure with the Bader Company many years ago, and have been in self-storage in various roles since. And so, love the industry and love talking about it and discussing it. And more importantly, talking about the tenant insurance and the tenant protection part of the industry.
Thank you, Richard. Let's go with Kristen, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Kristen. I am the head of insurance here, and I oversee all things pertaining to our insurance program, from getting new facilities onboarding and then just keeping an eye on them throughout the life cycle of the policies.
Thank you, Kristen. And then we'll go to Manny.
Hi, everyone. My name is Manny. Here with Storage Commander. I'm part of the risk assurance team here. One of the account executives, working closely with Richard and Kristen as well, just to educate everyone on the process, how it can continue to build revenue, and how it can be something positive for your business. And yeah, excited to see what we have today.
Thank you, Manny. Thank you, Kristen and Richard. So we'll get started here. Feel free to utilize the chat. Raise your hand. You're more than welcome to use your mic or your camera. This is a very interactive webinar, so we invite you to be very, communicate with us, be involved in everything like that. This is a nice conversation to have, together as a group, not only with Storage Commander, but with other industry experts here. So feel free to put yourself on camera if you'd like. I'm not going to put you on the spot right now to unmute yourself or anything like that, but please feel free to interact with us. And with that being said, I'll let you get started, Richard.
Okay, thanks, Ashley. And yeah, like Ashley said, we're going to go over a lot today, but more importantly, want to make it interactive, make it fun, answer any questions that may come up. If you guys throw a hand up or chat or speak up, let me know, or just let us know. And then at the very end, we will also have a Q&A session just to round this thing out. So, what we have planned today is to talk about risk assurance for self-storage owners. In our title, it says Peace, Protection, and Profit. And we're going to start off by looking at a quick overview of the self-storage industry and talk a little bit about it from its totality, and then drill in more on what tenant protection and tenant insurance offers owner operators and managers and renters. So, first and foremost, when we look at the self-storage industry, we see somewhere, depending on who you ask, the 52,301 storage facilities operating in the United States today. Definitely a good percentage, 37.6 are owned by the 5 public companies. So that takes up, a less than, just over a quarter of the industry. And then you have 22% of those are owned by large to mid-sized companies. And then the rest, the overwhelming amount is 40% of that is operators, which are small family-owned operators, small family businesses. And so you have a large portion of the industry that is, very successful, smaller businesses. And of the 52,301 facilities, it's estimated that somewhere around 60% of those facilities utilize a tenant protection or a tenant insurance program, which leaves a large amount of operators who still do not utilize some sort of tenant protection or tenant insurance. And so when we look at the market and we look at, what we're bringing to it from a risk assurance standpoint, we still think it's a tremendous opportunity for owners to learn more about it and understand why it would be beneficial for them to consider such a program, whether it be ours or others. And one of the reasons we look at we look at the industry and think that is we look at the challenges faced by self-storage owners and managers today. The number one challenge for any facility is to get tenants to come rent their units, right? And to provide a level of customer service that encourages customers to stay for a very long time or to come back when they have a need. And so those challenges have been since the beginning of self-storage and continue to be a challenge. Some of the other challenges in the industry that we're in today, which has evolved, is the customer service side of this. The customer service side of the business is such a key component to having a operator be successful for with their renters and keeping them happy and keeping the facility very, very well occupied. Customer service can be an extension of a lot of different things. Number one, obviously during the rental process, giving a great understanding, a tour of the facility, keeping the facility clean. All of those things play into the customer service and, more importantly, the customer experience. Rent obviously is a big part of customer experience. All the interactions you have during the rental experience, as well as through the rental life cycle, and when the customer moves out, all play a very pivotal role into continuing to increase and enhance the customer experience for the renters at your facilities or at any facility. And that's across the 5 public companies, the large to mid-size, and all the way down to a single site operator. That experience and the customer experience is so critical today because we find ourselves in the self-storage industry, which is with a lot more competition than we ever have before. The importance of providing insurance and protection plans for the renters plays directly into the customer experience. And that's why we see such an overwhelming amount of operators utilizing a tenant protection or a tenant insurance program, because they see it as a value add to the customer experience. And how that is played out in the renter's life is when a renter comes to secure a unit, they sign up for insurance, and the whole time they're there, if anything were ever happen, they have an opportunity to go utilize that protection or that insurance program to get some sort of value back on their goods. That's a very high level benefit, and there are more benefits to offering the tenant protection. The biggest benefit we see is that extra layer and that customer service and that customer experience that the tenants receive if they opt to enroll in a tenant insurance or tenant protection plan. We have partners currently that have offered insurance and have told us that the tenant, bought in on the insurance or the protection. They had a small issue, and man, they were really glad they had that protection and they had that insurance because they were able to get some value back for the property that was stored in the unit. The other benefits that we see are both on the ownership and the manager side. On an ownership side and the manager side, there's this overwhelming peace of mind that is provided by offering the tenant and the tenant insurance and the tenant protection plan. Storage historically has always been a storage your own risk industry, and this, by offering and providing this benefit, you are taking that and enhancing that in your lease and making insurance a focal point and the protection a focal point of the customer's experience. So many times over, I'm certain that there have been somebody on this call that has had a tenant walk in that stated, "Hey, I had a roof leak and there's water in my unit." and a manager and or owner had to have the conversation with. We're very sad to hear that, and we will do everything we can to get the roof fixed. But ultimately, this is the store at your own risk industry, and there's nothing we can do for it, which is 100% the way it should be. But it doesn't necessarily leave the tenant with an overwhelmingly good feeling, nor does it really the owner or the manager, because you guys we're all in the business of customer service and making the customer experience the best it can be. So if you flip that over and they had a tenant insurance or a tenant protection plan, you can send them to that partner, whomever you're partnering with, and they will then take it from there and give them a really great experience dealing with that claim. That to me is one of the biggest benefits for the owner and the manager is that it allows you to extend a customer service experience to the tenants in a time of something bad or in a time of need. We all give great customer experience. Customers are really, when they're really happy, it's great to give them good customer service, and it's easy to do. In times of stress and turmoil or some sort of unforeseen incident at the facility, it gets really hard to try to keep that customer excited and happy and buying in on the customer experience you're trying to provide. Not without effort, when we know that, but when you have something like this in place, you are able to provide that extension, and it really does give you a peace of mind, as well as owners and managers a peace of mind, knowing that you have a plan in place to extend that customer experience in the event something bad were to happen. That's the biggest benefit. The other benefit is well known in the industry is there is an opportunity to generate revenue with these programs. And revenue is certainly always a good thing. As we started off by saying, rent and occupancy are king. So any type you can bring in more revenue is never a bad deal. So with these programs, depending on the type of program you look at, there is a variety of different rev shares. But typically what you see is you get some sort of percentage of the monthly enrollment fee or the monthly protection fee or the monthly tenant insurance premium. And if you start looking at facilities that have 100 to 200 to 300 units, and look at multiple sites with those numbers, the numbers start to really add up. So in addition to providing a tremendous customer experience, you can also generate a revenue stream for the facility that's reoccurring month over month, year over year. And it is a very nice benefit to provide for your business. And it's certainly a line item that we see many times with our partners that is second to rent. And so it is certainly a benefit and one that is there. And so when you really look at tenant protection and you look at tenant insurance, to me there are three major benefits to it, and they kind of hold it all up, right? Like a tripod. Number one, and always will be number one in my book, is enhancing the customer experience, giving the renter an experience that maybe your competition doesn't. When something bad has happened, you put the plan in place to provide them with an outlet to get value back. Number two is the peace of mind and the stress that it takes off of a manager and an owner, knowing that you have that in place. I live here in Indiana, and we get tornadoes quite often this time of year. If I were to own a facility and I were offering the protection plan and a tornado warning was in my area, I wouldn't be thinking at night, oh man, I hope something doesn't happen because I don't know what I'm going to do with all these tenants. I'd be thinking, in the event something happens, I have taken the steps to make sure that I can take care of my customers in their time of need. To me, that's a tremendous benefit. And then obviously third, and certainly not least, and oftentimes first, is the revenue piece of it. Those three things really make this program, the protection or tenant insurance, a win for everybody. The tenants, the owners, the managers, everybody wins with these types of programs. And I firmly believe that it is fantastic for customer retention and customer referrals, because, you know, even if they may not like the fact that you are making them take an insurance policy or providing their own, in the event they need to use it, they're glad they have it, and then they will tell people that you took the extra step to make sure that they were taken care of. So that's the, you know, those are the major benefits that we see. You know, from a coverage standpoint and a detail, you know, coverages that the renters will be able to utilize on these, they vary across the industry. But what we typically see is, you know, tornado, I mentioned, you know, fire, burglary, forced entry, you know, a lot of the majors that most property policies would carry are covered by these. The other benefits to the renters that we think is really worth mentioning is that with most, I won't say all, but most of these products in the industry, if a tenant were to make a claim, the company, the carriers, do not report these claims to the National Claims Database. Why that's important is that your tenant, a tenant, hopefully never would do this, but could technically make 17 claims on their unit. Probably, you know, we'd have to ask a lot of questions on why, but for example purposes, if they were to make 17 claims, not once would their premiums elsewhere go up because of those claims. If a customer were to make 17 claims on a homeowner's or a renter's policy, number one, they could only make a couple on the first carrier because then they'd be dropped, a couple more on the next carrier because then they'd be dropped. But you get my point. They couldn't physically do it, but if they were, that would increase their premiums on all their other policies every time they do that. And so that is a tremendous benefit for the renters, and why this has been such a successful program in the industry. The other thing that is also a benefit for the renters is that a lot of times a homeowner's or a renter's policy may carry a $1,500 to $2,000 deductible. Most of these programs in the industry start off at $2,000 worth of coverage. Often, I would say 90% of most claims come in with a value of about $700 to $800. Think about a burglary, right? Somebody breaks into a 10 by 10. They're not cleaning out that unit. They're probably seeing a couple of items, they're grabbing it. And so that's a $600, $700 claim. On a $1,500 deductible on a renter's or homeowner's policy, you can't even make the claim. On most of the programs within the industry, you can make that claim because there is very low deductibles. They vary, but, you know, I've seen pretty typically $100 deductible. Some will waive it depending on what the type of claim it is. But even at $100 deductible, $700 claim, you're getting $600 back for the tenant, and their premiums aren't being affected elsewhere. The other benefit to it for the renters is that in the event there's a total loss, like say there is a fire and the whole unit burns down and they have a 10 by 10 with $10,000 worth of personal property in there, there's nothing stopping them from using both a protection or tenant insurance plan claim as well as a homeowner's or a renter's claim. And so instead of getting $10,000 less their deductible, they could get the total amount back. And so we see this, and when we look at this, what excites me about this product is that in these programs is they were designed specifically for a unit that has 4 walls, a roof, and a door that shuts and locks, and for the customers of those such units. They weren't designed for a homeowner's policy. They weren't designed for a renter's. Homeowners and renters were designed for those. Oh, by the way, they may have offsite storage. That's not their specific use. And the differences we just went over are some of the main reasons why. So, you know, a lot of this will be talked about revenue, owners benefiting, managers benefiting, all of those benefits. What's oftentimes lost is how great this is of a product for the tenants and how it really, really does enhance their rental experience. A couple of other benefits that we see is that most of these are a pay with rent program. And so they're very easy to implement and they're very easy to administrate at the facility. Most everybody is used to a pay with rent program on various different fees, and so the renters and the tenants, they fall in line with that type of program. How the tenant and protection plan works is ultimately, first step is deciding on who a good partner is going to be for your organization, your facility, and deciding that you want to partner with them. And I say that very, very specifically because this will be a partnership with whomever you decide is a good partner for you on this type of a program. There are agreements, there are some onboarding, what it does, you go through a step-by-step on the implementation, but you sign the agreements, you guys agree to a program, you agree to coverage limits, and many times there are other points of discussion on the agreements. You memorialize the agreements, then you start to implement it. Integration with existing software systems are the way this has always been done. There are companies that can embed it into their software, and they have there's advantages to that. But there are two different pathways. There's integration and there's embedded. The embedded program, it means that it is part of the software, and there are ancillary benefits to that that you would receive. But either way, you embed it into this, you integrate or embed it in the software, and then within the software, you're offering it at the point of rental. The point of rental is when you would discuss lease requirements, if you have them, anything, and during the rental process, you'd ask them to decide how much coverage they want. You implement, they elect a $2,000 policy, they pay that month, and they pay that with rent. They pay it from the day they move in until they decide to move out in many cases. In that time frame, the protection is there, and anytime they need to make a claim, they can. When I talk about partnerships, though, what's most important when deciding who you want to partner with is how they help you implement the program, how they help you run the program, and how they help you make sure the program is successful. We have had a lot of success stories, and I'll share one with you guys that is just happened recently. We partnered with a 3-site operator who had, don't quote me on this, but around 1,500 units. They decided to implement what is called a required program, meaning that they now have a lease requirement that the tenants either provide their own insurance or they enroll in our program. With that, because this is 30-day rentals, they sent out a notification to all tenants letting them know that this requirement was effective on a date. The tenants had 30 days to do one of two things: either do nothing or be enrolled in this program, or to bring in their own proof of insurance. In this industry, in the self-storage industry, if you run a required program, you must at all times give them the option to either utilize their own or enjoy whatever product you had partnered with. That they rolled out these letters, and 80% of the people didn't do anything and decided to enroll in the program. It was a huge success for the operator. Two reasons. Number one, they had a high enrollment, but more importantly, everybody who got the letter provided one or the other. And so therefore they knew that in the event anything were to happen, they could divert the customers either to the carrier who they partnered with, or the program they partnered with, or their own insurance. And so when looking for a partnership, it is key that you find somebody that will be invested in your success after the implementation. This program starts the day you implement, not before, and it continues throughout the entire time you're a partner with them. New move-ins come in, move-outs go. You want to make sure you have somebody that you're partnering with that can help optimize your success and get you to the goals you want to be at, and help you guys on that. Same with managers. Sometimes you have managers turnover. You need to know that the partner that you have will do the training ongoing, will work with anybody and all the staff to make this program a success. Those are very much keys to the program. Look, there are common concerns and there are common questions as it relates to the tenant insurance program. The very first one is, do I take on any liability? The answer is complicated, but in most cases, no, you do not. You do not take on liability. I won't speak for every single program out there, but in generally speaking, for tenant insurance or tenant protection, the liability lives with the carrier or the program administrator. And so they take on all the risk, they adjudicate claims. You, as an owner operator, should not or have options to not take on any of that. Your role and your goal is to rent units, to keep occupancy high, and to enroll people in the insurance. You do not take on any liability. Other concerns is, what's this going to cost me? What does this type of program cost? How much is it? Usually, typically, it's a very low cost, and there is some cost out there. If you doing a tenant insurance program, there are what's called limited lines license that you have to apply for. This does not mean that you are an insurance agent or gives you any sort of licensing to be an agent. It is a license that recognizes that you are offering a approved tenant insurance program, and there is usually a nominal fee for that type of license. It varies per state, but that is a cost to the program. Typically on the tenant protection side, there is no licensing needed, and so therefore there is no cost from a license standpoint. Any other costs are really time and effort, but really those are very minimal, because the way this program is successful is doing it during the lease up process. And so when you are renting a unit, working this type of a program into the rental talk track, or like a 10x10, going through the whole process, implementing this requirement of the lease that you need to have insurance, is 45 to a minute of their time, and so it's very minimal. There is a little bit of work if there's a claim. Mainly it is, hey, call this person or reach out to them, and you're diverting it away. So again, minimal amount of time and effort from the staff standpoint on implement or running this program. Compliance wise, and again, we talked about the liability. Anybody that you choose to partner with on this, compliance is something you want to ask about. How are they staying compliant? What are their programs? What are they doing on their end to make sure that they have the proper licensing, working with a strong carrier? All that's very important questions to ask, but none that you really are responsible for answering or taking on. There may be, in some states, there may be a tenant in a limited lines license that you would have to do some training, but that should be provided again by the partner you choose. So these are valid concerns, but they should be fleshed out during the discussions, and they should be very minimal. Frequently asked questions for tenants. A partner will provide you guys with that type of information. Look, renters, as you know, come in with a litany of questions about everything. And if you do a tenant protection or a tenant insurance, you better believe they're going to ask questions on why do you have this? Why do I need it? There's several different objections they have or questions they have about it. Some of the key questions are, why do I need this coverage? Do you guys have issues? Tenant protection and tenant insurance is not for today, it's for tomorrow. Those types of questions come up. This seems expensive. Why do I need this? I can utilize my own. We walk through all of that. And a good partner will walk through all of those objections with you and your staff. There is again, as we talked about in the beginning, 60% of the facilities out there are utilizing this and making it requirement. So customers are smart. They've been around. They are noticing that this is now another requirement within the industry. Just like you're required to pay rent on time, and you're required to pay, in most cases, an admin fee, this is another part of the industry that the customers have accepted and understand it's a part of it. Doesn't mean they don't question it or try to get you to make exceptions for them, because every customer's a little special. But it is a norm in the industry. Again, you know, these are frequently asked questions that any partner within the industry should be able to provide the ongoing training and the help for you and your staff to overcome them. The key to this and the success is that partnership is having, you know, a good partner that's going to help you overcome objections, get the percentage you're wanting out of this, the participation percentage you're wanting, and make it a successful program. Again, success stories and case studies that we've seen is that I shared one with you earlier. The others we've seen is that when people do make it a requirement, they do not lose renters. They do not lose rentals. You will have I have spoken to many facility owners and operators that said they see it as a competitive advantage that they don't offer this type of a program, and that they have other facilities that offer and make it required within their area, and they are getting renters to come from those facilities. The one question I've always asked, and I typically know the answer before I ask it, is, are those facilities empty? Do they not have renters? And the question is, no, they have plenty of renters. So then it becomes, is it really a competitive advantage, or is it a question of what type of renters you're getting? When those facilities make it a requirement and renters leave and come somewhere else where it's not a requirement, one has to think, why are they leaving that? Why are they taking their stuff and moving because of that requirement? And most importantly, the ones that do make a requirement see this as a customer service extension to their tenants. Their occupancy has not dropped. They're still doing very well, and their customers are satisfied. And so that is something we do typically here. I do see that there was a question, and I'll read it real quick. Want to have conversation. Well, okay. Sorry, Ashley. That's more just, yeah. We will definitely open it up at the end for Q&A. I thought I wanted to make sure I didn't miss a question, but look, I will probably wrap up here in about 5 minutes or so, Ashley, so we can continue to have that open dialogue in that chat, because we definitely want to answer any questions you may have or have come up during this. But let me spend a few times just kind of bring this back all full circle. The reason this exists in the industry is those three reasons we talked about earlier. Number one, it is an enhancement of the customer experience and the rental experience, and it benefits the renters to provide this. Number two, it provides owners and managers and tenants a peace of mind that their stuff is that there is a plan in place in the event something were to happen. And third, there is a revenue component to this that is certainly a key component. I can't stress this enough. I've been in this industry a very long time. Customer service is what drives this industry and what really makes self-storage's facility. The facilities that we work with all have a 3 to 5 mile trade area in which they excel in. That's not a very big area, and so customer experience is key to making sure that the people within that 3 to 5 mile trade area know that you are the best of the best and care the most in a good, clean facility, a great rental experience. Good or bad things happening will make or break a facility and really set it apart from its competition. I've thought that from the beginning. I believe it now, and until the end, I have that belief that is what makes this industry, number one, a very special industry, but number two, a very successful industry in real estate and in services. So I will stop there and open it up to any questions and anything that anybody has. Feel free to use the chat or turn on your mic and ask away.
Thank you, Richard. Like I said, feel free to use your mic. You can use the Q&A or chat. And we can continue this conversation, or if Kristen or Manny, if you have any questions or any more insight in regards to what Richard talked about today. Thank you, Richard. That was very informative. All right. Well, Kristen, Manny, Richard, do you all have anything that you'd like to elaborate on, or have any questions that you've gotten these past few months as we've done this great program?
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. No, what I will say though is that, Richard outlined some of the steps in the process, if there is limited lines licensing or, sending out notifications. It's important to note that we actually handle a lot of that for our customers. So we don't just send out and say, hey, you guys need to do this. We walk you through the process, we draft the letters, and we actually work with an internal mailing service to get those out for you guys. So the overall onboarding into the program is a pretty hands-off process, and for all the paperwork, quote unquote, we do handle most of that on my team for you.
And I would say that's something you'll definitely want to vet out too, as you're looking from a partnership standpoint, because that is a major component to this.
Thank you. It looks like Shannon just joined the webinar. We are wrapping up here, Shannon, but we will be sending out the recording of this. Like we're saying beforehand, you're welcome to unmute yourself. You can use the chat or Q&A if you do have any questions. But in the meantime, we can definitely send you over the overview, and we will send everyone that overview and the recording of this meeting, this webinar. With that being said, is there any other questions or anything that anyone else would like to share? All right. Well, if no questions are coming in, we can wrap this up. And like I said, everyone that joined us today, you are entered to win a Stanley Cup. I will probably be doing the drawing tomorrow. So look for your email for that, along with the recording and any information that you'd like. Feel free to reach out to any of us, reply to any of the emails that we have. We would love to directly talk to you. You're not going to go into some robot or anything like that. We'll definitely have a chat with you. But this will be available for you, and one of you lucky winners will get a Stanley Cup here. So thank you all for joining us.
Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. You have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.